Let's go over there. Nice. 2-liter watermelon. Bowling. Paper target. Bunks and pot. Out of ammo. Hickok 45 with an M14 SA for, no, not single action, semi-automatic. It's not fully automatic, but it is an M14 variant, we could say. And I'm here to talk about it. You probably noticed the title because some of you can actually read. Even though you hang out on YouTube a lot of time during the day just so you can see videos, you can still read. And it probably says something like LRB M14 SA, because that's what this is. It's an LRB, okay, another kind of a reproduction or a variant of the M14. This is something I purchased, okay, rounds down range. How's that sound? And guess what? The best part is, now it's empty. As you can see, it is empty for sure. But the only reason I wanted this LRB was I have had various M1As, but never one I could put a bayonet on. And of course, we all know they're virtually useless if you can't get a bayonet. You cannot fix a bayonet to the rifle. And you see, now that makes a much a more useful package. You know, you got the full gear here. You got a magazine in it and no bullets, not quite full package, but you got a bayonet. It's just useless without a bayonet. So there you go. And that's why I have it. That is cool, isn't it? I have never owned an M14 bayonet until recently. I picked this one up at a, oh, where was I? It was a big show. Oh yeah, it was at Louisville, the gun show up there a month or so ago. And thought, you know what, I need an M14 bayonet. Now that I have an M14 variant that will take a bayonet, because I bought this back during the crime bill period, more or less, no bayonet lug. And of course, I've been a lot safer. You've been a lot safer because I did not own an M1A with a bayonet lug. So, yeah, so now the world is not quite as safe. I have a bayonet lug on this baby. And so it is the LRB out of New York, I think out on Long Island. And you may not be familiar with them. You can check their website if you want to know more information. I have been toying with the idea for a few years of, I don't know, kind of an upgrade, I guess. Although this thing has never failed, and it might outlast this one, you know. Just how that goes. I mean, people do not typically have problems with Springfield Armor M1As. You know, you have to have some problems. Obviously, it's mechanical, and when I start saying millions, I don't know if there are millions of them out there, but there are a bunch of them. A lot of people have them, so you'll hear about a problem. Excuse me, a problem, of course. It's just going to happen. But typically, I've never had problems, and I guess I have two now, and I have one that I traded or sold. The SOCOM, it was a little too short for me, you know. I didn't like it as much, it turns out. So I like the Scout Squad size and everything, but yeah, this is my first love, should I say, in an M14 variant or whatever. So we'll shoot her some more here. LRB is, as I say, it's a company many of you might have heard of, many of you have not, I'm sure. Their claim to fame is they make a lot of these custom M14s, and you know, for competition and everything, and as Springfield does too. But they forge these receivers, and that's hard to come by these days, and it's expensive. The receiver alone, they forge that. This hammer forged from a big block of steel. And it's almost as expensive if you just buy the receiver as is to buy. You could probably buy a used M1A for almost what those things cost. I think they're around $1,000 just for the receiver. So it's forged. That doesn't mean it's going to outlast that one, but it's the way they made them. the way the military made them, the Springfield Armory, and all the folks that made them for the military back in the day. Now again, this is not that Springfield Armory. I'd like to remind people of that. This is a newer company here. It uses the name. It's not the U.S. Arsenal that made firearms for our military for so many years or anything like that. But the ones that were made back in the 50s, the 60s, had forged receivers, okay? And that's expensive. It's an expensive process. And that's what this one is, okay? And I just think it'd be cool, because I love these rifles, to have one like that. You know, I just thought it'd be kind of neat. And I'll just sell the M1A, or maybe give it to John. What do you think I should do? We'll see. See what you think. Think he's worth it? But anyway, this is my M1A, my primary rifle now, and it I kind of think a Criterion barrel. These some GI parts, you know, because the GI parts were extremely well made. It's mainly the receiver that you get the benefit of. You know, if you have a forged receiver, it's supposed to be, you know, I guess more reliable, less prone maybe to breakage and that sort of thing. And again, this is not an ad for LRB. It's just that I did a lot of research and around the web and the forums, maybe where you hang out and post and everything, and you know, about who makes the best you know, M14s or M1A. I'm not going to call them M1As. That's a Springfield kind of a trademark. Okay, that's what they call their firearm, the M1A. So that is an M1A. This is not an M1A. This is it's like an AK variant. This is an M14 variant, and it is made as much as possible just like the M14s were made. I mean, right down to the details. You notice the difference on around the sight there, on the receiver, and some of that. It's just the markings, the grooves, just everything. It is supposed to be the same, and except it is semi-auto. Okay, so it's a semi-auto M14. That's why they call it that, the M14 SA. All right. Now this is just the GI stock. I wanted the Vietnam era model. Now you can get all kinds. You can spend $4,000 with them, you know, if you want some, you know, hot shot and, you know, modified, souped up and different thing. M14. I always want to call it a single action, but a semi-automatic M14. I wanted this one. I saw it at SHOT Show. This exact gun. They had it there. Displaying their firearms, and I'd already been looking around, so I was pleased to see it there and look it over, and I didn't get it order it till, I don't know, weeks later, but they still had it, because you have to wait a long time sometimes, I think, if you order a firearm for them to be built. But that's what I wanted. I wanted a Vietnam era kind of an issue version of the M14 as much as possible, and that's what you get with this, you know, except for it's semi-automatic, right? So LRB, that's who they are. You can look them up on the website, and their website, and learn more about them. And I've got a variety. These are mostly Checkmate magazines. I bought some more of those. I've had some other GI mags here for a while. That was some of the three. Let's shoot a little bit of this M1A ammo. Appreciate Federal furnishing this. You see we got a variety of ammo here from them. And I adjusted the sights just ever so slightly, I think, on elevation. And that's about all I've done, and it seems to hit pretty much close to where I want it to. I will maybe get one of those fake fillers. For this is for those who don't know, the selector switch goes in there. Okay, so that's why I don't have a selector switch. It's a semi-auto. We've got a little gap there, but somebody, I think, makes a dummy filler for that little dummy switch. I may put that in there just for looks. But these are great guns. The M14, I noticed we did a comparison with the Garand and the M14 not all that long ago. I didn't have this yet, but I noticed a lot of comments about the M14, well, about both of them. A lot of love for the M14, no doubt about it, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But let's throw a couple more rounds out there. Like, how about a little more pot smoking? A little more bowling. Yeah, Bowling pins are great targets because you can shoot them up as close as you want to. There's no ricochet. Oh, look at that 2-liter hiding over there. Whoa, he attacked. And a little more smoking over the hill there. Boy, it hits hard. Kind of like a 308, right? Let's go with that one on the right. Low. I knew when I pulled the trigger. Oh, there's a cinder block over there. There was a cinder block. He's rolling down the hill. I got him on the roll. Oh man, we're running out of targets. So let's shoot this barrel. Let's finish this magazine. 2 shots. Well, we might try that again. As I was about to say, before I was so rudely interrupted by the shooter in the firearm, I couldn't resist. There are a lot of comments, interesting comments on that last video we did with one of these in it. I heard from a lot of people on Facebook and private just messages about how they carried these things in various places, you know, Vietnam and over in the Mideast recently. And it was just interesting. I don't think I got one message or saw one comment from someone who carried these things that wasn't fond of it. I mean, you could tell they missed them. The people that had them in Vietnam and just anywhere, they speak highly of these things. They just tend to work. Let's take this mag out. And now I don't know, whoops, you guys that's what they're for, to bang around, right? She's definitely empty. But some of you are more knowledgeable than I am. I like them a lot, just like the Garand, and I know enough to be dangerous. And not really dangerous, but I mean, it's a figure of speech. And in terms of like modifying them and just different things. And I have to remind myself sometimes even how to break these things down, these old guns. Pull out the trigger guard there, works better if it's cocked. And I was going to do this to show you the receiver and everything. For those of you who might be able to tell something about it. Pull that thing out there. It's stock and all that. It's, I guess, kind of a new fit, so it's kind of tight, especially after it gets warm. There we go. So I don't know if you can tell anything about it, but LRB seems to be a really good company. As I was saying earlier, I did some research and boy, people who really seem to know about these firearms, they just speak so highly of LRB as, if not the premier, one of the premier builders of these things. And I've prowled around their website, talked to them at SHOT Show. I looked at how they make them. They really seem to know what they're doing. You know, a lot of stuff on their web about exactly how they build these, and they fix the barrel into some kind of vise, and they actually fit the receiver onto the barrel, and the lapping and making sure the bolts lined up properly and lapping them properly and all those sorts of things, which I'm sure anybody who builds them tries to do, right? But that's kind of their claim to fame. And I don't know if I've seen anybody criticize them. Now you'll see people say, well, now this company I like a little better, or that one, or something, but they have a really, really strong reputation. It's unbelievable, to tell you the truth. And I don't know them well. I don't even remember the guy's name I talked to. I think he was either the owner or one of the top dogs at the SHOT Show. John and I went by, and I was telling him about them because he wasn't aware of them, and I was, because I had been doing some research. Didn't know I'd end up with the one we picked up there at SHOT Show, John, but I did. I figured they would sell it sooner than that. But I think a lot of people want something a little bit more custom if they're going to put more money into one of these types of rifles. And I just wanted, and you probably would understand that, from some of my collection, a lot of the firearms, I just like a typical example of like what was used in Civil War, or World War II, World War I, that kind of thing. That, to me, that's as appealing as anything. And that was part of the draw to this rifle, because it's as much like the M14 that's issued as pretty much as it can be, I guess, other than, not being select fire. So It's pretty cool. I just really like it so far. Not had any malfunctions, of course. And these are different animals. These, the Garand and the M14. It's not like a drop-in part kind of firearm. Things have to be fitted, and you need to know what you're doing. You not only need to have some gunsmithing skills, you need to maybe be a little more advanced in your gunsmithing skills. So those of you who are familiar with these rifles, could address that more so than I can. But again, people just love these. The soldiers that have written me, that have carried these things. I'm talking people you can tell. They're not some mall ninja warrior in his basement on a computer. They're people that have been in Afghanistan or different places. And that's the thing about these. They've been used continuously since what 50. Let's see, I think it was adopted in 57, but they really didn't manufacture it until like 58, 59, and you really get them started being issued. And then early 60s, 64, along in there, we go with the M16. So it's really, a 5 or 6 year period there where this was the gun. And it was meant to replace so many other firearms. The Thompson, the BAR, the Garand, you name it, the carbine. It was supposed to take the place of all of those firearms. The machine, because had full auto capability, at least for 20 rounds, right? Maybe 30. And just everything. It was the rifle, and it was small enough and light enough, unlike the BAR, that everybody could carry it. And so that was the intention. And it kind of did in a lot of ways, but I guess we came up with the idea that we didn't need bullets this big, and guns this heavy, and all that. The M16 really changed everything, didn't it? But there's still a place for these. Obviously, we have discovered that on ships and things. I know they've been around forever, and then we've had to pull them out when we got into the Mideast again, and they've been serving, in duty ever since, and still are today as we speak. They just they don't go away because they work, and you can't find people who don't like them. I mean, it's hard to find folks that just hate these things. All right, here we go. Gunny, I hope you're not watching from up there. How klutzy I am with your M14. I apologize. I know it's disgraceful. You could probably put one of these together, blindfolded and in your sleep, right? Look at that. Did you see that, Gunny? I was about to put the trigger in backwards. See? I apologize. I'm sorry, guy. We miss you. There we go. But they're pretty cool. They really are. They're, I guess the last battle rifle that we ever really issued. And again, it's small enough, light enough, even though it's heavy, that anybody could carry it. And you can put that on your shoulder. Of course, the ammo is kind of heavy and the mags are kind of heavy, but it's not a BAR. That's the thing. And you had that full auto capability. But now, hard to control this firearm because it's not all that heavy under full auto fire with that 308, 7.62 by 51. Now I've got this on there, as you know. I always get a little extra length, but the stock again is just an issue stock. They went to fiberglass stock later because they learned in Vietnam that these things get wet and swell and they could affect accuracy. So they did go to a fiberglass stock at some point there, but there were a lot of wooden stocks as well. That's a pretty nice piece of wood on that. So anyway, LRB, an M14, and I'm going to put this back on, get my length back. Let's see, I didn't put a cigar in there, I don't think. Well, I'll check later. I don't have time to get it out and light it now. Could be dangerous anyway, right? Because we require fire and all kinds of dangerous things, so we don't want that. Tobacco fire and everything. All right, so M14, let's shoot it just a little bit more. How about that? Should I shoot it with a bayonet on it? I won't do that. Everything about an M14 is just a little beefier, a little heavier. The mags are kind of heavy compared with an AR or M16. Mags are heavier, ammo's bigger, it's heavier, the gun is heavier, it's all wood and steel. But then again, that's the attraction. There's the attraction. Safety is right there. We've shown you all that before. And it's a little weird where it's right there in the trigger, like, now putting a safety on, you don't touch the trigger. and you feel weird reaching in there to work on something like getting the safety off, but I guess you get right down to it. As long as it's working, you're putting your finger in there on it has to touch the trigger to even get to that. But guess what? The gun's on safe. That's why you're in there trying to get it off. So I don't know. It's you could argue that both ways, I guess. It's kind of a weird place for a safety to be. It still always strikes me as odd. And I think that's one reason I tend to maybe not engage it on this firearm sometimes when I should. Just make sure I'm pointed downrange. Oh, I was going to put a couple of quick rounds on there, wasn't I? So let's get it ready. Okay. Let's put a couple of bowling pins out of their misery first that are hanging there. All right, let's put a couple on the barrel. A lot of firepower, a lot of punch. Let's go back to the red plates in the middle. Under it. Boom! Last shot on the red plate. Okay, it hits where you point it. It really does. You get that big old magazine, big old bolt, like a Garand, doesn't it? As we talked about in that other video, comparing them, basically your gas system change was modified, improved, quote unquote, and it takes a box magazine. Not all that different, really, other than that, from a Garand. Excuse me, Garand. Everybody calls it a Garand, right? Or as in a nobody. So anyway, yeah, if you M14, what kind of lies I could tell you about it. They're kind of pricey. Depends on what configuration you get. To go with a forged receiver, you're talking, at least probably $2,500, and it just depends on what kinds of configurations you want. At least I think from anybody that forges a receiver. If you're getting a hammer forged receiver made like this one, it just adds. Okay, adds a bunch. Basically, you're talking about another 900, I guess, or 1,000 on top of what an M1A, from Springfield, would cost. And again, I'm not claiming it's better. I just kind of thought it'd be cool. It's kind of like having a 1911. Any old 1911 you pick up might last your lifetime and your kids and grandkids, But some people want to have one that's like an Ed Brown or a Les Baer, one of those $3,000 ones. That's all made, made and fitted and made with tool steel, like the old ones, like a GI model from 1930 or 1915 or 1940 that was, made like these guns were, instead of the MIM parts and castings. So probably doesn't make a lot of difference, but some gun nuts like me just think it's kind of cool to have that if you can. But anyway, the LRB, kind of an interesting rifle, the M14. People talk about it not having much history, but really, in a way, it has a lot of history because it's served since 1950, the late 50s or 1960. It's been out there, in basically every war or whatever we've been involved in some capacity. It just has, and it's still being used today. They keep pulling them out of mothballs and issuing them. And there's enhanced variations of them. And I forget what that's called, a MK14, I think, or something like that. But it's the old M14, and they tend to work. And I like them, I always have, since I fired the first one. It might have been right here, soon after I moved here in the 80s. A friend of mine had one, and I was pleased. I had fired a HK, and the punch of that 308, I remember that because it was kind of a blowback, I guess. And I fired his M1A. I thought, wow, that is sweet. This smooth action and recoil and everything about it felt good, easy to hit with. So I've been a fan ever since I fired that one. So I like them. And again, it's interesting that soldiers like them, almost down to the last one I've ever heard from. So if you have carried one, you have used one, let us know if there's something really negative about it. But it seems like most people like them. I'm sure the weight, wherever you were, if you're in Vietnam or if you're in the Mideast and wherever you are, it gets heavy. I'm sure it gets heavy. You know, a lot harder to carry this with a fair amount of ammo than it is to carry M4, right? No doubt about that. And I've not been in the military, I can't relate to that, but other than that, yeah, boy, people seem to like it because it reaches out and it's got some punch. So pretty cool. So anyway, that's my my take so far on the LRB M14 semi-auto, and we'll probably bring it out again, show it to you, shoot something with it. Glad you all could come and watch and enjoy this day at the range with us. Appreciate you supporting the people that support us, and we appreciate you watching more than anything. Life is good.
Hey, how you guys doing? Just here practicing a little guitar, as you can tell. I need to get better. Just on the range hanging out. But I wanted to let you guys know while I'm here, since you guys just stumbled in on my practice session, about our friends over at SDI. You can check them out at sdi.edu. That's the Sonoran Desert Institute. They're a fully accredited online distance learning program where you can be certified in gunsmithing, or you can get an associate's degree in firearms technology. That's sdi.edu. Also, don't forget about our friends over at vaulteksafe.com. You've seen their safes, the Vaultek, on our shooting table. So don't forget to check them out if you get a chance. And also all of our other social media entities. We are on Patreon now, so you can find us on Patreon. There'll be links in the description. Just Hickok45 on Patreon. We are on Facebook, of course, Hickok45 on Facebook. You can also find Hickok45 on Instagram, the real Hickok45 at Instagram, Hickok45 on Twitter, full30.com, and then I have some social media stuff, John_Hickok45 on Instagram, John Hickok on Facebook, and there's also a Hickok45 and Son Facebook, and the Hickok45 and Son YouTube channel, of course. And I guess that's all I can think of for now. I believe that's all of our different social media things. So I guess I'll get back to my practice. As you can tell, I need to get a lot better, but I think I'm improving just a little bit. I don't know, we'll see.